Ian, welcome back again. We did this not long after Thanksgiving, season two, episode 21. How you feeling?
Feeling good, man.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you. Feeling pretty good about the Panthers. Even though we lost, it was good to make the playoffs and win the division. So,
Hey, I'm not upset at all. I know there are some sick fans out here, but after seeing what the bank looked like and having all the OGs like Cam and Steve Smith and Jace too, all those guys in the house, I think that puts some momentum in these guys to have something to work towards.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Hopefully, we could build off of it.
Absolutely, man. Well, I'm ready to get this thing going.
I'm ready, man.
All right, let's do it.
Touchdown, Carolina! You're listening to the Buzz Pound.
Smith scores, and the Carolina Panthers win in overtime.
A Queen City sports podcast covering your Charlotte Hornets and Carolina Panthers.
Halliburton, nowhere to go! LaMelo's done it! LaMelo's done it! Hornets win! Here comes LaMelo.
Here are your hosts, Ian Blair and Cam Gardner.
Westbound, thank you for joining us for season two, episode 21. Ian, how about these Panthers, man? We feeling good?
Yeah. I mean, there's no moral victories, but it was good. It was good to make the playoffs, and I think we competed. I really expected to get blown out, especially beating the Rams in regular season at home. I was kind of expecting them to kind of get their get back, and they did, but we were able to make it competitive, and we looked, we were competent as a team. Just overall the season, I'm very impressed with the team. I'm very pleased, especially improving off of last year. We kind of got some help getting into the playoffs, but we got there. Definitely should have beaten the Saints 2 times. I still can't believe we got swept by the Saints, but we could have been 10 wins right there if we would have beat the Saints twice. But overall, good season. Got some free agents going into the 2026 season, but overall, very very pleased with how the team performed in 2025, and you know we just got to improve next year. I think the draft is going to be really crucial. I think Charlotte's a more intriguing spot for free agents to come to now, but so I think we have some momentum for sure. But what are your thoughts on the game and the season overall?
I'm with you, man. I mean, a little disappointed we didn't get the win, but they exceeded my expectations personally this entire season, especially with the way we started and being able to turn it around and with a 8-9 standing and getting, being on top of the NFC South. Like you said, we had a little help there. Should have beat the Saints twice, and I think we should have been able to beat the Bucks that final regular season game, but neither here or there. We got to the playoffs and, introduced these young guys on our team to what the playoffs feel like. And I think that, like I mentioned in the intro of this video, gives them something to be able to work toward. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better. It started off shaky, thought it was going to be a blowout. The next thing you know, going into halftime, we were just, what, 3 points down?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was huge. That was everything. I mean, we were really right there, almost a victory. But when you give Matthew Stafford or a player like him 2 minutes plus on the clock to be able to get down the field, you gotta play some lockdown defense. And especially with him having a weapon like Puka, I knew that wasn't going to be an easy task. I thought it could have been possible, but either way, I'm not overly upset. It would have been nice to be going into a game two of the playoffs, but you know, things happen, but it could be something for us to work toward next year. And like I said, we got some free agents going into this off season, but draft will be crucial. It's a lot of things that are going to be crucial. It was announced today that Bryce Young's fifth-year option will be picked up. What are your thoughts there, man? That's one of my main topics for today. Just with the way the season ended, do you think he is the future, or do you think we need to go into next year and let that be the final call?
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of a no-brainer to pick up the 5th year option on Bryce, especially I mean, we go back to what we've said previously, giving up as much as you did to go up and draft Bryce Young with the number 1 overall pick. I mean, we gave up Next year's for the year after that's first, which ended up being Caleb Williams. I mean, DJ Moore, and I believe another pick. So obviously gave up a lot to move up to pick Bryce. So it's kind of a no-brainer to pick up his fifth year option, in my opinion. And also he's played decent throughout, especially this year. And he's had games where he's looked really good. Like, the Falcons earlier in the year where he threw for over 400 yards. So he's had games where he's really been good. We just got to make it consistent. He's kind of up and down, and he has games where he looks really bad, and then he has games where he's able to turn it on and, you know, looks really good. So, it's not no surprise to me that he's our going to be our quarterback in 2026. You know, I couldn't imagine, is he's going to be up for a big contract. I don't know, if we're going to sign him long term. He's going to quarterback in the NFL. Takes a lot of money, so I don't know what that contract would look like. But it's kind of a no-brainer to me that we picked up his fifth year option. What are your thoughts on it?
Like you say, it's a no-brainer. I mean, at this point, what would we have done next year if we didn't? Um, it's going to be a big year for him. He is to prove it, before, and I think it's a smart move. You got to see it one more time while you have that chance before you kick out all that money, because we know quarterbacks are worth a lot. They're the faces of your franchise, majority of the time. But I'm gonna go into a little bit of his stats here. Actually, his final stats of the 2025 season: passing yards, 3,011; touchdowns, 23 total; interceptions, 11 total; completion, 63.6%, which was a career high for him. And also a clutch stat, he had 12 total game-winning drives since entering the league in 2023. So a lot of people are picking up on his clutch stat when listening to analysts and other fanalists like us talk about him. A lot of people talk about his clutch moments, which he's proved he can be that when given the opportunity. But it's the inconsistency more than anything. And there's a lot of reasonings that go into that. A lot of people say it's size first. That's the number one thing you'll hear. But, there was a lot of people that said they didn't think he was an NFL quarterback. I never necessarily had that full-on doubt, but I think he's starting to make people look at him a little more. I mean, our team in general, we made noise after this playoff game. I think a lot of people see that we are something, um, that could be around in the future. And this draft will be big on that, depending on what our pieces are. And we'll get into that a little later. But yeah, man, I'm satisfied at least, even though we didn't win the game. I'm satisfied, way more satisfied compared to last season. We had a better, standing. Um, I keep saying it, but I really do think having that home playoff game was good for those guys because they got to see what the atmosphere is like. They got to see what a full Bank of America stadium is like because since Bryce has been there, I don't think they've experienced that once. Like it was really bad a year ago or so. It was like half empty and it was viral. And even the ticket prices were like as low as some were like $5. So it's a turn, I think, for the better. Still a lot of work to be done, but I think they see what that culture can be. And if they're, winning, they can bring the atmosphere in Bank of America in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, it's huge to get the playoffs, especially for the guys that haven't been. I mean, think about Derek Brown. He's been in the league for 6 or 7, 5, 6, 7 years. And finally getting that first playoff experience definitely helped him. I mean, these guys haven't really seen playoffs at all, the guys on the roster. I mean, besides some of the free agents we've signed, but the team played well. I still think we can definitely improve on this year. I mean, the draft's going to be important. Free agency is going to be important. Getting some guys back next year. I mean, Jonathan Brooks didn't play in 2025. I think he's still going to be a really important piece to the team. I think he's going to be 23 sometime this year, so he's still really young. Um, I saw him on the sideline a couple times throughout the season, and I'm still a believer in him. I don't think Rico Dowdle's going to be back in 2025 or 2026, which I'm not too upset about. Running backs have a really short shelf life in the NFL, and you see guys around the league, low round draft picks that are able to contribute. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson over at the Patriots wasn't a high round draft pick, and he's been a really good back in the league. So, I mean, even Rico Dowdle himself wasn't a high draft pick, and you see these guys that are able to contribute. So I don't think it's a huge deal that, um, he there's a high probability that he won't be back in 2026. But yeah, man, it's going to be interesting to see what we do in the offseason. And, we really need to improve. I mean, the NFC South is still really weak. I mean, especially with the Bucks kind of falling off this past year. Mike Evans getting old. They have some question marks pretty much all over the team, same as we do. I think, the NFC South is really wide open. I think year three of Dave Canales and, hopefully able to retain some of the coaching staff, that it will still be beneficial for this team because become, they know what the playoffs are like because they experienced it. And hopefully we could build off that and have a really good year in 2026.
Yeah, for sure. I'm pretty much convinced that Canales is cemented at this point. He really turned it around for himself. Tell me this. I was talking to a coworker of mine about this. As of now, he is our offensive play caller. We don't have an OC. Do you think it should stay that way, or do you think at some point they should invest in an offensive coordinator?
Yeah, I mean, I like the offensive coordinator that calls plays. The thing with Dave Canales is Brad Idzik is like his buddy. I think they're like really good friends off the field and, outside of work. I think they're just really good friends. So I don't see really Idzik leaving anytime soon, especially because I don't know what he does on a day-to-day basis. He's not calling plays, so I don't know what he's doing, throughout the week to get the guys ready. Because, Dave Canales is calling plays, so he's probably doing a lot of the game planning, and maybe Idzik's helping him out with the game planning and stuff like that, and ultimately Canales is calling plays. But I would like an offensive coordinator that calls plays. It gives the head coach a little bit of flexibility. He's able to do a little bit more throughout the game. There's been points this year where I thought we were too conservative. Bryce Young doesn't really throw the ball down the field, like really deep shots. We kind of dink and dunk down the field, and it worked. I mean, Ted McMillan's a really good. I think he's going to win Rookie of the Year, but he was a really good receiver this year. Jalen Coker came on, had a really good playoff game, but we just don't really open up the offense a ton. We really rely heavy on the run game and kind of the short to intermediate passes. And I would like an offensive coordinator. I just don't think it's gonna an offensive coordinator that calls plays, excuse me, but I just don't think that's gonna happen. Just because Dave Canales and Brad Idzik are so I think every place that Dave Canales has worked at, just about Brad Idzik has been with him. So um, I just don't think, anytime soon that Dave Canales will um, kind of give up the play calling duties.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And you mentioned Ted McMillan. Want to give another special shout out to him. Like you said, rookie of the year in my book. I don't think there's another receiver that got 1,000 yards like he did in his first season. Um, that as far as I'm concerned, but special player, man. We got a gold mine with him. That is our wide receiver one. And while we're on the topic of wide receivers, do you think it's time to move on from Xavier Leggett?
Yeah, I mean, his role is just going to diminish. I don't know if we deal him for like a fifth or sixth round pick next year or what, but it's definitely not looking like he was lived up to the first round hype. Um, I was kind of wishy-washy on him whenever we drafted him, whenever we traded up to get him in the first round. I didn't think his college tape was that impressive. And he was an older prospect coming out. I just wasn't, he hasn't played well. I feel like he drops everything that's thrown to him just about. He can't, he draw, in the contested catches, it's never goes his way. When you need a play, it never goes his way. I'm really frustrated. And shout out to Jalen Coker, man. I mean, he wasn't drafted out of Holy Cross, and they were in the same, came out the same year, and Jalen Coker is significantly better, has played significantly better than Xavier Legette. But yeah, I'm ready. I mean, It's just frustrating that we wasted a first round pick on him and traded up to get him. Who says he doesn't turn around in 2026, but he's had back-to-back years where it's been very underwhelming. We really expected him to take that next step this year, and he did not at all. And it's really frustrating. Um, Especially because if he turned out, we'd have three really good receivers. I think Jalen Coker and Ted McMillan are a great 1-2 punch. And if you could add a third to that group, like you see around the NFL with all these, these receiving cores that have a lot of pieces, um, it would be beneficial. But yeah, I'm pretty much out on him. It's really frustrating. Um, just to kind of see him, he had that fight, he got ejected. I think it was either earlier in the year or preseason. But just man, I'm his accent's cool. He's really country, but that's all you see is the stuff off the field. I'd rather see some production on the field.
Fun personality. Um, just doesn't result on the field. I mean, I don't know if it's the diet, eating raccoon and things like that. I know he's a country boy, but something's got to give because it's not working right now. And he rode his horse Dollar to the game the other day or to practice. It was one of the two, but fun personality. But like I said, it's just not panning out on the field. So wouldn't be surprised if we did ultimately move on unless he really puts in some work and comes back different. I just don't know how much faith I have in that at this point. But
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I agree with, and the thing is, what's the return we're going to get on him? I mean, we're not going to get a second, third, fourth round pick probably. He hasn't done anything. So, a team could potentially throw a flyer out there and get offer a sixth or seventh, fifth, one of those picks, but he hasn't had any production. So, a team's not going to give up a lot to try to get him if there was even a suitor for him.
true that. I mean, we definitely wouldn't be getting a lot much in return, that's for sure. It's tough, man. I mean, especially when we drafted him, he was supposed to be what we got in Tet, but he
Mhm.
is absolutely not that. And I mean, you got Coker, who is, if I'm not mistaken, an undrafted
Yep.
signing,
Yep.
literally a wide receiver too. Like nobody's even sniffing at league yet right now, and just he can't catch a thing. He can't get open. I mean, everything just goes wrong for the guy. So. Disappointing, but hopefully at some point we can get that spot fixed because it'll be nice to have a solid three receivers we can guarantee on. Because
Yeah.
we already got our two. So,
Yeah.
but moving forward, now that we are in the our off season, pick number 19. What do you think we need to do with that there?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I don't think we necessarily have any really weak spots um, on our offense necessarily. We could use a wide receiver three, like we mentioned. I think our running back room actually is probably going to be fine. With Chuba. Chuba played well in the playoff game, and I'm telling you guys, Panthers fans, Jonathan Brooks, and maybe I'll be wrong, but he is young. If you watch his film at Texas, he was a really good player, can catch the ball out of the backfield, is explosive. Yes, he's had some ACL issues. He tore his ACL at Texas. He played a little bit in 2024 and tore his ACL again. That was his rookie year. We kind of rushed him back, and he tore his ACL against the Eagles that year and didn't play at all in 2025 because we wanted to make sure he's fully healthy, get that knee rest up and everything like that. And the thing that I'm still, is still really promising is he is really young. I mean, he was one of the younger kids in his draft class. Um, and I think that's going to be fine. Running back's going to be fine. I would say, defensively, we could probably use a linebacker with the 19th pick, depending on who's going to be there. There's some options. I haven't done too much scouting. Haven't looked at the mid to late round, mock drafts or prospects yet and kind of what we need. But I think you know, a linebacker would be good. Yeah, but Christian Roseboom, is great, but ultimately, I think we could use another like game-changing linebacker, kind of like Luke Kuechly, and it's going to be hard to replicate what Luke Kuechly was in the league. They're few and far between, those really lockdown guys, but I think there could be potentially some options at linebacker, in that middle to late first round, and I think that would benefit us. Um, we could go a few different ways. We could use another pass rusher. Um, but you know, I guess a linebacker slash pass rusher would be what I would want. I think our offense is decent, and also we can have some pieces in free agency too. But as far as where we go in the first round, I would like a linebacker, and there are a couple of options. So
For sure, especially now that well, he's been gone all season, but Shaq Thompson, we
yeah,
had him. That was our, veteran linebacker at the time. Not having him is definitely felt. So I agree. I think a linebacker would be good. Honestly, I wouldn't be, I know for a lot of people this is probably give or take, but I wouldn't be opposed to looking at another tight end either.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I've seen the Oregon tight end.
That's exactly who I was thinking about.
He's kind of
Um,
been rising up boards.
Kenyon Sadiq.
Yeah, yeah. He played well. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. We got a big tight end room though. I mean, I don't know where the expiring contracts, but Tommy Tremble, Jatavian Sanders, we just drafted Mitchell Evans who contributed a little bit. So, I wouldn't be opposed to tight end, especially a really good pass catching tight end would be very helpful for Bryce. But also, Kyle Pitts is a free agent this upcoming offseason, unless the Falcons franchise tag him. And I think he would be a beneficial pass catcher for Bryce. But tight end, definitely, we definitely could use a pass catching tight end for sure. I agree with you 100%.
I mean, just to have another old reliable like we had in Olsen. I
Yep.
mean, that was a past favorite for Cam. And if Bryce could have that, that can make up for in case we don't get that true wide receiver three yet, we can at least have that. So,
Yeah.
but fun season, man. Started off rough, but I'm satisfied personally. 8-9. It's not the most dominant, obviously, but I'll take it compared to what the previous years have been. Shows improvement. Just maybe we could put some improvement on those losses as well, especially the Saints. I
Yeah.
mean, to get swept by them was so absurd. I'm still sick about that. Would have been nice to get the second Bucks win too. I was hoping we could have done that, but they just act like they didn't. Well, that wasn't even fully us. That was the refs more than anything in that game.
Yeah.
That was I had no words for that one. I'm kind of glad we didn't have a episode, especially for that Ted McMillan play, because that one was the most ridiculous, if you ask me.
Yeah, I
That
mean there was a bunch. There was the PI call where the K Dutton tripped over his feet. I mean, Tommy Tremble got his head ripped off at one point. I believe the ref gave him his helmet back. It's like, yeah, that was crazy. It was a crazy game. Yeah, the refs. I mean, I'm not one to blame the refs really for wins and losses, but that kind of it was refs were really bad that game.
they so deserve for that game. I will forever put my foot down in regard to that game. That should have been our 10th win at least. I mean, our ninth win. I would have taken that over anything. That way we could have automatically got in or at least won the division because I hated the fact that we had to go through another game for us to get that push. I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever in my life ever pushed for the Falcons like that. I was actually cheering for them heavily in that game.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's funny. I was talking about it with some friends at work, and there was like, the refs, the script was the NFL script. They wanted the Bucks to beat the Panthers, so the whole entire, four fan bases were tuned into the Saints versus Falcons game, and I sure as heck was tuned into that game, and I'm sure a lot of Panthers fans and a lot of Buccaneers fans were. So, I'm sure that game had a lot of viewership. I wouldn't be surprised if that game had a lot of viewership.
I'm sure you've seen some of the TikToks. There were actually Panther fans out there with their stuff on, rooting for the Falcons.
Oh
If
yeah.
I was there that day, I would have been one of those same guys, honestly,
Yeah.
because I just wanted it for us, and thankfully the football guys allowed it for us. But I tell everybody that is the most NFC South thing possible, the way that ended up.
Yeah, yeah, it's the worst division in football, unfortunately. Right now, it's definitely the worst division in football. Even though I love my team, and it's just the division's not very good right now. And that's why it's so wide open. It's important for us to capitalize next year.
Hopefully, we can emphasize on that because it's the opportunity is there clearly. So if we can make the right moves this offseason and draft right, maybe we can build on to what we did and push forward into the playoffs. Because man, that was exciting. And I wasn't even there in Charlotte for it, but just seeing it and just the fact that there was an actual home Panther playoff game for the whole world to see on live TV. That was everything.
Hmm.
That was everything.
Yeah.
You couldn't beat that, man. That there was nothing better than that feeling.
Yeah,
But
the crowd was pumping, jumping.
yeah, man, you can't beat it all the way to the top of B of A. But speaking of the city, we got to do it. Talk about these Hornets of ours. Currently sitting at 14, 26, 12 in the Eastern Conference. I don't know how much games you watch. I watched them last night against the Clippers. Wasn't a blowout. I know the game before that, it was a big blowout against the Utah Jazz. That was rough. I think we scored like what, 140 or 50 points or something like that. It was absurd. But against the Clippers, we were actually not that Clippers are like a championship contending team either, but we were actually competing with them. And just seeing games like that where things mesh together, not fully, but more than halfway through, to me, it shows that the team has so much potential. And even one of my favorite players, Carmelo Anthony, spoke about it on his 7 p.m. show that Charlotte is one of those teams where if you watch them, you could see they got pieces to be a good team. It's just a matter of health, everything coming together. Charles Lee is a big thing right now. I'm personally starting to, I don't think he's the guy anymore. But there's a lot wrong with the team too. Rumors are him and LaMelo are not seeing eye to eye, and the trade deadline is coming up, and LaMelo is one of those guys that are in trade talks. We recently seen Trey Young get traded recently. John Morant, he's another player that's out there. Those three guys, small market teams, but considered star players. It, and right now, they say his value isn't worth much, and it's being done on purpose, according to Kendrick Perkins. But I don't know, man. We always say the same thing about these guys, but I the potential is there. It's just a matter of it meshing together. But I don't know what to expect during this trade season. I mean, you got names like Colin Sexton that may get traded. Miles Bridges might get traded. I mean, I know right now the core of our team is LaMelo, Brandon Miller, and Con who is so special. He's such a sniper. I mean, I know he's in battle of Rookie of the Year with Cooper Flag, but if you ask me, I think Knipple has it written all over.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm just this team. I try to watch some of the games. The whole thing with the potential, we've been saying this ever since we started this podcast. I've been saying this about the Hornets for 2, 3 years, ever since we drafted LaMelo Ball and started kind of building some pieces around him. I've been saying potential, potential, potential. This team has so much potential. Yes. And we have yet to put it together. And I'm right there with you. I don't know if Charles Lee is the guy anymore. I don't know if this team is just we have the guys and we still have a really losing record and it's frustrating. The East is wide open and it's an example because we're sitting at what? We're four spots out of the play-in, maybe less than that. We're 2 or 3, 4 spots out of the play-in. That's how weak the East is, and I mean, it's just frustrating. I agree with you. Con Knipples played outstanding. I really enjoy watching him play when I do watch the games. He plays with a lot of heart, a lot of effort. Um, and he is a sniper. I mean, the guy could hit threes. I believe he's the fastest ever. I saw a stat a couple weeks ago. He's the fastest ever to like 100 3 pointers or something like that. Um, which is impressive. I mean, it's really impressive. I think he is definitely a piece we could build around for a long period of time. I don't know what the trade deadline's going to hold. Guys like LaMelo, Miles Bridges. Um, I would like to keep Colin Sexton around just because he's new this year. I mean, Miles Bridges has been on this team for years. Same with LaMelo, and we haven't been able to get over the hump. So I don't know what it is. We say potential all the time, especially myself, because it's just frustrating and we haven't been able to put it together. And the games I do watch, we're just losing throughout the game. Although the Jazz game, we did blow them out, which the Jazz are not a particularly good team in the league, but we put up a lot of points against those guys. I mean, the the point differential was crazy at one point. I believe we were like almost like 40 points up or 50 points up at one point, something crazy like that. Um, and then the next game we lose. So it's just no consistency with this team, and it's say it all the time. I think I say it every single episode that it's frustrating, but it is, man. It is. And good thing we had the Panthers this year because the Buzz Boys, they're like the gum at the bottom of my shoe right now, man. It's frustrating.
And it's funny because last year it was kind of the same thing. We thought the Buzz Boys were going to be the better team to
Yeah.
support, and then
Yep.
somehow the Panthers turned it around and became the more exciting team in Charlotte. So I don't know. And going back to Carmelo Anthony's podcast, cause they talked about the guys in pretty good depth. But he's someone that actually sits and watches them, and he proved that I'm sure he likes LaMelo as a player and wants to see him flourish. But they were pretty much saying that they just don't know if these guys play serious. And I know you've talked about that before. Just the way they play. I mean, hitting threes off one leg and just doing things like you would see in an AAU or pickup
Hmm.
game, or just like a lot of people say with AirPods and just shooting around. I mean, I don't know if it's like they need some authority that puts these guys in place or what. But and then you got games shifting a little bit. You got games where it was one game, but they're benching LaMelo, but let Charles Lee tell it is to have him available in the fourth quarter because playing him his regular minutes. They had to bench him about midway.
And that doesn't even make any sense to me.
And me either. I don't get that at all either. I mean, unless they're really using him like all his minutes mid-game. I mean, I don't get it either. I mean, over the past few years, he's been playing. He started and he would still be playing until the final buzzer of the game.
Yeah, exactly. And you never see that around the league. Sorry to cut you off, man, but
You're
like you
good.
never see LeBron. I mean, like LeBron. Oh, they're not going to set LeBron on the bench just because we got to have him available in the fourth quarter. Or guys around the league, Giannis or Joel Embiid when he was in his prime and not injured. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense to me. You got to manage the minutes throughout the second and third quarter potentially, to have them available in the third quarter or in the fourth quarter, excuse me. But that excuse is just crazy to me. It doesn't make any sense.
It's silly. I mean, and I don't know how much you could take Kendrick Perkins serious, but he claims that there was like a shouting match, I think, between LaMelo and Charles Lee, or it was something regarding LaMelo after the game. I think he like just shouted in the hallway walking back to the locker room. I'm not going to say the words on our platform because we go to be a clean podcast, but he had made he just cursed a lot and said something about he's getting tired of Charles Lee or something like that. Don't know how true that was. I haven't heard any other insiders like Shams or anybody say anything about that, but I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, something isn't there. I don't know if it's a relationship thing between the two or just something isn't right, but it's going to be an interesting bit of weeks leading up to early February because that's when the trade deadline is. It's either the 6th or the 7th or something like that. But like I said earlier, we already seen Trae Young get traded out of Atlanta, and he was kind of in a similar situation as like a LaMelo or a Ja Morant, star players considered on small market teams. But if LaMelo happens to get traded, hopefully we can get something valuable in return because for the Trae Young trade, they say he was at his lowest value wise, and the Atlanta only got like CJ McCollum and I think a pick or something like that for Trae Young. So hopefully that's not all we get. Hopefully we at least get something to make up for him, depending if that happens. I don't know what to expect at this point. I mean, the way Con Knipple's playing, he might be that future guy of our team between him and Miller. All I know, because he plays very well just about every game. I mean, not that LaMelo doesn't. He goes out there and does LaMelo things, and if he does get traded, that would be a piece that I'll be a little bummed about because his playmaking is perfect for Con Knipple. And Brandon Miller, but especially Conklin with the shooting ability he has. I'll miss that. He'll have to find it on his own, but we just have to see, man. This team is something. I thought sure once there was a change in ownership and front office and coaching staff, I thought sure it was going to be a move in the right direction and getting a Charles Lee who comes from winning culture, knows what it's like, even though he wasn't a head coach of that team, but I guess we're still not there.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, especially if LaMelo gets traded, it's like what a wasted opportunities. The guy's got talent. I could see him going to another team and having a lot of success and being really good. He's just got to have a team with a really good culture that he doesn't have to lead. And that's not what he has in Charlotte. We're relying on him to be a leader, and he's not that. He's proven that he is not a leader. I think he needs that veteran presence that's been around the league and done it at a high level to kind of get him in gear. But it's frustrating. These guys, sometimes it just doesn't seem like they have the will to really want to win. Because in games that matter and stuff like that, you got to play good defense when it matters, and you got to get stops when it matters. And all five guys that are on the floor really need to be in sync and know that they got to play their best defense on this possession because they need to get the ball back and win the game. And I don't think that's there with this team. It's frustrating, and there's no real leadership in my opinion. But I'm not inside the building, so I don't know for sure. But it's just what it seems like from the outside. And there's the talent's there. The talent is 100% there, but we just haven't been able to put it together
At all. Well, it's about time to wrap this episode up, my man.
Yeah, Buzz Pound, we appreciate y'all joining us for another episode. Sorry about missing a couple weeks. Life gets busy, as Cam likes to say. Holiday season, everything like that. But as always, you could find our podcast on both Spotify and YouTube, and you can follow us on both X and Instagram at BuzzPoundPod.
And as always, we are the Buzz Pound. Keep pounding and keep the hive mentality.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Buzz Pound. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and let us know what you thought of this episode. Until next time, this is the Buzz Pound.
Touchdown.